Hello and welcome to the Banking Financial Report. This is a spreadsheet really revolving around finance. It's not often I do ones completely around finance, but this one is. Now, before I start getting angry messages from accountants and cloud-based software reps and all the rest of you, I'm not trying to replace any accounting package. I'm not trying to replace bookkeeping. This is not about bookkeeping. It's not about accounting. It's merely about analyzing your banking statement. So what this spreadsheet is designed to do is look at all the data from your banking statement and actually allow you to categorize all the transactions so that it can give you an idea of things like sales, cost of purchases, that kind of thing. Now, bear in mind, this is only looking at your bank account. So it's not a complete accounting package. It's not a complete bookkeeping package because there are other things in accounting that don't go through your bank account that need to be reconciled. This does not replace any of that. So please don't use it as such. This is merely to analyze your bank statement to give you an idea. The reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of people have immediate access to their bank statements, but they don't have immediate access to their accounting. A lot of people outsource their bookkeeping and accounting, and then you've got to wait for the quarterly review or the annual review or whatever it may be, and you don't have up-to-date data. So I've had a few requests from people to actually use the data you do have, which is the bank account, and make a spreadsheet that analyzes that. So that is exactly what this does. So this is not 100% accounting accurate as far as your accounts are concerned, but it does analyze your bank and it gives you flexibility to be able to tailor this to you. So let me show you how it works. It is a little bit confusing at the start to get the data in and to get it all sorted, but once you've got it sorted, it gives you loads of reports which are quite useful. So let me show you how to actually do this. When you receive it, obviously your business name will be locked in. It'll ask you for the starting date, month, the starting month, sorry, and the year. Now, what this is the year is your current financial year. So if your books run from January to December, then put in January. If you run from April whatever to the following year, you can put in your financial year. So select the first month and then select the year when your current financial year starts. So the whole idea behind the spreadsheet is that it's going to take 2 years worth of data from your bank statements, last financial year and this financial year, so that it can compare the two and it can give you some comparisons between last year and this year. So you're going to need 2 years worth of bank statement data, but this date here is the starting month and year of your current financial year. The other thing you can do is then select your sales category. Now, when you get the spreadsheet, because these may all be blank because you haven't filled in the categories profit and loss. So what you can do is go to the categories and profit and loss first and actually put in your income categories and then your expense categories. Now, I've just used standard ones with the standard values here. You can put in whatever you want, really. So once you've listed your expenses and you've listed your income categories and your expense categories, you can sort your expense categories into alphabetical order once you're done if you want, or you can keep them whatever order they're in. You don't need to add a budget or percentage allowance yet. I'll come back to that, but at least add the categories, because once you've added the categories, you can then go back to the intro and setup and you can select which one of those is your sales and what is the maximum that you have as a sales income. Now, the reason why it asks for these two, you don't have to put these in, but what it does is then it looks at your bank statement and says, all right, any income, i.e. any value coming into your bank that is up to and including the value you put in here, it's going to immediately mark that as sales. Now, you may have something that comes into your bank account that's not sales, but you'll be able to override that. What this is trying to do is trying to do the bulk of them at once so that it's less for you to actually go and fill in afterwards. So if you don't want to do that, if you've got all sorts of income coming in and it's not all sales, then take that out. But for most of us, dare I say, the majority of the money coming in is probably going to be sales, in which case you can sell anything sales up to and including that value, anything up to and including that value that's coming into the account, select which one is the sales, and then it knows where to put all of those transactions. Once you've done that, you've done the setup, you now just have to get the data into the spreadsheet and analyze the data. Before we go to that, let's go back to the categories profit and loss. You've put in all these categories. Now you need to select a target. So what the target is, you don't have to put this in. If you want to put it in for some or all of them, all you need to do is, for example, let's just say your direct wages. Let's say you know your wages should be X amount of money per month. If you put in, say, 5 grand or 8 grand or whatever they should be, then what you can do is you can say, let me know if that goes over or above, say, 10% of that. So if you put in 5 grand, and if you put in a 10% tolerance, then what this is doing is it's checking these values here. At the moment, it's coming up in green because it's going, some of these are lower than 10% lower than 5 grand. If one of these values here in one of the months, when we put the data in, say, comes out at 8,000, it's going to go, hang on a second, 10% onto that is 5,500. That's a tolerance. If it goes over 5,500, it's going to pop up in red and go, did you know? But it's not just for each individual month, because what often happens is you may have, for example, a direct debit that's supposed to go off that doesn't go off, and it goes off twice the next month. So it takes your average over all those months and goes, what is the average over all those months? Is it within 10% tolerance of that? If yes, it doesn't change color. If it's below for an expense, so in other words, it's in your favor, it turns green. And if it's over that as an expense, it turns red. So you can see straight away if something on average has gone over or above your budget. And it's the same with sales, it just works the other way around as far as the colors are concerned. So you can put those in if you want. You don't have to put them in, you can put them in, and then it just monitors those particular things and checks and sees, hang on, are you going over and above what you expected? So in this case, it's a target, you put this in what you want to hit, and in this case, it's a budget, you put it in what you want to spend. So that you can use, don't use that. Once you've done that, this whole page is set up. You've done your intro and set up. All you need to do now is come to this page, which is the main data entry page, and this is where you need to put your data. Now, this is going to sound confusing, and I apologize for this. Let me just minimize this so we can see it properly. I've had to make this fairly confusing in order to actually make it work properly, because what I originally wanted to do was just have a space where you could paste your data in, but everybody's data is different. The other thing is, when you paste data in, now you want to update some more data. Now, which one's new, which one's not, and then if it resorts, you've got all issues with the entries and things not lining up. So this is going to look like a little bit of a complicated process, but if you follow this, you'll be okay. Get your raw data. So now I've done this. This is really, I mean, I've just used random figures here. You can see I've got formulas in here saying random. So this may or may not work. Let's see. But get your raw data. Now you need to have 3 fields of data in order to make the spreadsheet work. You need to have the date of the transaction, the value of the transaction, and the description. So i.e. whatever someone normally leave some kind of they'll leave a note when they make a payment, and that will pop up here. It'll pop up with the person's name if they pay by card, that kind of thing. You need those 3. You can have other columns, that's fine, it'll just ignore them, but you've got to have those 3 as a minimum. So if we copy the data, now I've done random stuff here just so that you can see what's happening. Oh, hang on, I've already made a mistake. Let's go back. You need to copy the headers as well. I'll show you why. You need to copy the headers, so you need to copy one line of header and then the data. If you've got a blank line in between here, some bank statements have a blank line here, just delete that line first so that you've got the headers and then the data. Copy the whole bank sheet and paste the values into here. So you need to paste the header into the gray row, and the white row is where the data starts. If you put right click, paste values, not normal paste will ruin the spreadsheet, paste values. Now what you've done is you've essentially pasted that data into here. Now this will be blank for you, so let me blank it out now and I'll show you how to do this. So those will be red, and it'll say it needs to know what's the header. So the header for each of these things. So when you're looking for the date, what is your date header? Because your date header may not be called date, it might be called something else. So what I do is I select, okay, the date is the date. What's the amount? Well, the amount is the value. That's the value header here. And then what is the memo details notes? You go, well, that is called description. So you come here and you select description. whatever you've got in these headers will appear in these drop down lists. And now it turns all of them yellow as to this is all new data. So what you need to do now is, if you go to the end here where you've got the date and you push Control and down, it jumps down to the last row. Now if I select that, Shift Control and up, make sure I've got all the yellow ones, and I go to copy. Now if I come here into the date, top line, right click, paste values again. Not normal paste, that'll ruin it, paste values. So now what that's done is it's pasted this stuff, the right columns, it's looked for the right columns, it's pasted the right data into here. So this is now your raw data that you have, and this can actually be removed. So if you right click, clear contents, you can actually remove that data, and it's now got your data into this section, which is where it needs it, because this won't disappear. You see those are turned red again because it can't find it because you've got no headers in there, but that's fine. We'll leave that for now because you're not bringing new data in. When you're bringing new data in and you've got data pasted here, these should all go white. If they don't, then you need to change them. So you've got your date, your amount, and you remember this data. Now what it's asking you here is it's because we've told it anything up to £200 is a sale, let's assume that's a sale, let's assume that's a sale. If we scroll across, we can actually see what data is going to be used. So you can see that is considered a sale, that was the month, that was the credit. So all the ones that have turned yellow here, and it says that there are 33 of them, it doesn't know what to do with this, because it doesn't know what that is. So what you would do is you'd scroll down here and look at that and go, oh, hang on, I know what that is. That was advertising. Now it says it needs 32. So you scroll down a bit more and it goes, hang on, what was that? And you go other name 2, that should tell you that, and then the amount and the date should tell you what it is. If you go, oh, hold on, I know what that was. That was consulting. Now it's gone to 30. The reason why I jumped down 2 is because there's another other name 2 somewhere, and it says, well, if this is consulting, then that's probably consulting as well. If you go your account, well, your account, that's wages. If you go direct wages, this will jump down considerably. See, it jumps down to 6 because it's found 24 of those, so it's changed them all. Now, when it jumps down because it's changed them all, if you scroll down to your account, let's go down to the next your account. There's the next your account here. So it's already going, well, we know what that is. It's wages because you told us before. If it's not wages, if maybe last time it was, but this time it's something else, you can change it again, and then everything from there on down will change to the new one. If you then scroll down and go, well, actually it was just that one that wasn't wages, you can change the third one back to wages, and it'll change everything down from there to wages, but it'll keep this one above as whatever you've selected, if that makes sense. So it if you don't select here, it'll look up to the last one of that name that you did select, and it'll take that as the same. So let's go back up. Yeah, we haven't got any more. There was another one over here. Let's say that one here was cleaning, and now it's got 3 more, and then you can scroll down. So what you're doing now is you're essentially just naming the ones that it doesn't actually know what to do with them, and the more you name, the more it will know, so it won't ask you, and they'll decrease accordingly. And then if this one is number 4, if you say, well, that one was let's say virtual office service. Now there's one more, there's an alert here, but I'll show you what that alert is in a minute. And we can scroll down to the last one, and it said that this last one was audit and accountancy fees. Now you've got everything's done. There's one alert. Now what the alert is doing, let's see if we can find the alert. There we go. There it is. There's one alert here. Now what that alert is saying is it's saying, hold on a second, other name 4, which is virtual office services, you have put down in your categories and your profit and your categories that virtual office service is an expense. Therefore it's expecting the money to be going out of your account. Now because this one is a credit, the money's coming into your account, is that still virtual office services? That's all that's doing. Now in this case, I've done it like that on purpose to flag up this alert. This could be, for example, a credit note where you've paid them too much and they've refunded you some money. So it does belong in that category. So these alerts here aren't necessarily wrong, they're just alerts. So that's why I put the number at the top there, so you can go, okay, one alert here, that's supposed to be like that. And then if that changes to 2, you can go, well, hold on, there's a new one. So these may not necessarily be a problem, but that's for you to decide. All right, so now what you can do now is you can actually go through these and you can see exactly what each of these things have been assigned to. If you've got a wider computer screen than I do and you want to include these the notes here, all you can do is go up to view, select freeze pane, unfreeze pane, select over here instead, and go view freeze panes, and then you can select there. So when you scroll across, why is it not scrolling? There we go. You can actually, you can't see it on my computer, but you'll be able to see it on your computer, where you actually go and you can see exactly what category it is, which month and so on. You can actually scroll down, make sure all of that data is correct. So if you want to go through each line and make it really accurate, you can do that, and you can override whatever you want to override. As far as I'm concerned, this is all done because it's got all the information in. So we've done the raw data, we've done the intro and setup, and we've done the categories. Now we can go on to reports. I'm going to come back to this raw data and show you how to add new data and how to replace the data when you go into a new year. But let's first show you, I'll show you that at the end of the video. Let's first show you the dashboard. Here is the dashboard. This is showing you your income to date this year compared to your income to date last year. Your outgoing this year compared to outgoing last year. Your balance to date this year compared to last year. And your sales to date this year compared to last year. These sales to date gets their information from where what you've selected are your sales. So I would suggest when I said put the sales and select the sales anyway, but your estimated value, if you don't want anything to come in here, just put that as 0, because if you leave that as 0, it's not going to show anything as sales because nothing's going to be exactly 0. So anyway, let's go back again. So you've got your dashboard, shows your sales, what they were compared to last year. Here it says nothing to report from the profit and loss, everything within any range is set. This middle section refers to these budgets that you've put. So if, for example, I put a budget of wages at £3,000 and I said you've got 10%, because it's gone to £4,000 and it's turned up red, and it says we should have only paid out 3,000, we paid out 4,000, so therefore it's turned red and it's a negative thing. If you go back to the dashboard, it now says one line not performing as well as expected. So that's referring to this one line here. So it's really just things that are on your dashboard that will flag up and show you if you've put these budgets in. Those will show here. And then at the bottom it says here attention required, raw data header section. So this attention required is actually your raw data. It's this over here. So you don't need to worry about that because that you haven't got data in here. This is only when you're transferring new data. So you don't need to worry about that. Name and category sections, those are all done. What those ones are doing is it's looking at these warnings that pop up at the top here to turn these yellow because you need to enter entry name or category. Sorry, I forgot to mention you can actually override the entry name as well. So if, for example, it's difficult to explain, but if client 24 and client 77 was the same person, you could actually come here and override this entry name with client 24, and then we'd change all the client 77s to client 24 as well. So you could group them together. So you can override the entry names too. The entry names are just based on what's in this column here. That's not particularly necessary for this scenario, but I'll show you later on why that could become useful. Alerts for possible plus minus switch. It says possible alert. That is this alert here that I was talking about, where it says that it's a positive and it should be a negative. That's not necessarily a problem, but it will show on the dashboard. and then new lines of data to add at the moment you're up to date. I'll show you that when I add a new line of data, you'll see that will change. I'll show you how that works. Here's the entry name report. So this is what I was talking about, your entry name. If you go back to your raw data, this is here becomes your entry name, and you can override it. So let's just say, for argument's sake, we want to see a report on your account, which is what I named the one for your bank account. So if you go to the entry name and you click on here, it'll have all your entry names in alphabetical order. So these are all the different names that have popped up as a transaction name. I don't know how many there were now. There we go. So if we scroll down a bit to the end, there's your account. So if we select your account, you can see what's happened under the entry name of your account over the last 2 years. So you can see this year compared to last year. Overall, you can see exactly what's gone on between this year and last year. Now, last year, this year, there's a difference there, but that's just because the December one hasn't come off yet, according to this because we haven't reached the date. We're only on the 3rd of December as I shoot this video, not on the 25th when the salary comes off. So that's why that one's different. So yeah, you can basically see what the difference is between, and you can isolate any one entry name by just simply selecting that entry name from the drop-down list. This report is exactly the same, but this is per category. So if you look at sales, for example, now we can see the sales from this year compared to the sales from last year, and we can see the difference in sales, how the two have fared compared to this year. So here's your year-to-date average per month. There's your year-to-date total. And when I say year-to-date, it takes where you currently are in this year and compares it with the same period from last year. Here's your overall average from last year, and here's your this year the overall total this year. So it's looking ahead to the end of the year as well. So, well, this one, sorry, last year takes the whole year. This one here takes the current year to date. So you still got to add on here for the rest of the year. That is the total year to date difference. You can see we're £192 short from last year. So this one is exactly the same. It gives you that detailed report, but it's based per category, not per entry name. So if we go back to the data, that's the entry name, that's the category. So in other words, client 916 would be sales, client 810 would also be sales. You can either drill down to this level to see all of client 916, or you can just look at sales and everything that's classified as sales. Lastly, there's a filterable report. Now this one is quite useful if you know what you're looking for. You can actually come in here and see incoming, outgoing, and the difference between last year and this year based on any selection you want. So let's have a look here. You can do the start date and end date. You can filter, or you can filter by category. So there are all your categories, income and expense. So essentially, if you say to me, well, I just want to see the 1st of January. Now you put in 2020, because remember, all of the dates you put in here are relative to this financial year. It'll include the same dates from last financial year. So if I say from the 1st of January to the 31st of Jan, and I want to see sales and wages together, now it shows me what's actually happening here. So it says that last year the incoming was that, the outgoing was that. So in January last year, if I took my sales less wages, I actually made a loss of £47. Whereas this year in January, if I took my income less wages, I made a profit of £610, or at least there was more money coming in than there was going out. I won't call it a profit because that's not entirely true. So you can see the difference between this year and last year. So that's what this report does. You can isolate which categories, and you can isolate date ranges in order to include, and it'll include whatever you select here will include on the left hand side. So those are your reports. Now what happens if you want to add something else? So let's just go back to that's that set of dummy data we did, and let's just copy that. Now this may look a bit bitty, but it's just because I'm trying to put the right thing in to show you. So if we have the headers again, those will clear because it's found the headers. Let's say for argument's sake we had one more entry, and I'm just going to copy that as a number and put it in here for now. Let's say you brought in some more data and this was an amount of £85 and it was client 1000. Now it says new, but you can't see anything here. The reason is because it's new and you've already got data, it goes to the bottom. So if we scroll down there, we can see there's the new lot of data, because now it's already got these and you want to add a new one on because you've now done a new bank statement and you've got new stuff. If you paste the whole bank statement in here, it'll ignore all the ones it's already found and it won't show you. It'll only show you the new ones that you've put in. So because it doesn't recognize those transactions, but the transaction has to be exactly the same. So if you paste the same data in again and it finds this one again, for example, it'll just ignore it. If we go to your dashboard, you can see there it says new names to add. These are new lines of data. If we go back here, edit, copy, edit, paste values. Now I think there's another way. Let me just see if I did it. Yes, if you click on here, let's click on here and see, there we go. If you click on these cells here, you can actually select the data that is the new item, and then that will disappear once it's found it. There we go. So you've got two options. You can either take the new line, the yellow cells, right click, copy, come here and do paste values, in which case you'll paste the values in, or you can simply select each one. If you've got one line to do, it might just be quicker just to do the drop down, but if you've got a number of numerous lines, you can copy and paste values. And now you've added that new one on. If it knows what it is from above here, they won't ask you for it. Otherwise, if it asks you for it, you can put in the entry name or category name. Once you've done that, you can come and clear this again. In fact, let's go back to the dashboard. You can see there it says raw data header sections. It all looks good. That's just referring to those headers. So if you want to, you can leave them in, but otherwise if you take them out, then just ignore that warning on the dashboard if that is the case. Last but not least, when you get to the end of year 2, you now want to clear out all the data. When you start in the following year and start putting data in for that year, you now want to get rid of 2019 because now you want to do 2021 compared to 2020. You can just simply come to this data, highlight all of it, go down to the end of 2019, right click and say clear contents, and then sort by date. Now, those of you who are one step ahead are thinking, but hold on a second, if I clear this stuff, it's not going to know who those categories are and you've got to recategorize them. That is true. If you don't want to recategorize them, if you know, then you've been through and you know that this year is actually, this is completely correct, and you've gone through all these entries and you know that this data that you're using is 100% right, then what I would suggest you do is if you scroll down to the bottom, in fact, if you come here like this, you can use the control to get to the bottom. If you then highlight all of that data, so the entry name and the category name, and you copy, and you simply come here and you right click, paste values. Now what you've done is you've forced all of those to do what you had calculated them to do. Now when you come and you scroll up to the top, when you scroll down to the bottom of 2019, because now you want to progress a year, and you actually, where's the end of 2019? It's further down. There we go. So you can go from there, 2019, you can select across, shift control up, and you can clear all of that. Then you can sort by date order. It'll bring 2020 up, and then you can start with 2021's data. And because you've itemized all of these things now by copying and pasting those values across, it'll override everything and it'll give you the best possible start for the new year. So yeah, you know how to change dates, you know how to put the data in. It is a little bit confusing to go through this whole process, but I've done it like that because I want to make sure that it works properly for you. You've got your categories, your targets, and your percentages, at your allowance. These reports all update automatically. Do your settings at the beginning. Oh yeah, one other thing, when you do switch over years, come back and change this 2020 to 2021 for the new year, and it'll reset all of the graphs and reports. So I hope that that's helpful to you, and I wish you all the best with the spreadsheet if you use it. Thank you, and goodbye.